I wanted to say a huge thank you to you all for about 5,000 views for my chapter on tenkara fly fishing for salmon. This chapter is called Round 4, as in the fourth time that I had to try to catch a salmon without a reel on the tenkara method. Round 4, I finally caught one. So let's go ahead and take a look at the whole chapter now so you can see it all together in one piece. When I got to the river yesterday, I drove straight to the pool where I had hooked the jumper last season. The pool looked very different this time. I failed to spot any fish moving where dozens had porpoised, tail-walked, and leapt so freely last year. Yes, salmon were jumping, but not feeding last fall. As I scouted out the first pools, I kept hoping I'd find some jumpers and feeders. I did see a few fish jumping this year, but they were spread out, less than one per pool. Not sure what the difference was, water temperature, river level, younger or older fish, but there was a noticeable difference. Making my way upstream past the first pool, I waded, rod in hand, toward a deep river bend. I saw a salmon jump right away in that large pool where I spent my first hour fishing, carefully and methodically, but I failed to interest any fish. Upstream. I approached a seam just below the dam, where ichthyologists harvest roe on certain days during the spawn. I watched with keen interest as a local landed a nice fat chinook on an egg pattern. He was fishing with his father. Together they hooked half a dozen fish in the next 40 minutes, landing one, a fat brown trout. I failed to get a bite. I wended my way back downstream, fishing some pools I had passed over on my way down up toward the dam. Nada. It was early afternoon and I was feeling perplexed and hungry. Lunchtime. I took a break and ate at Popeyes and, curious, stopped at Ace to see if they carried the same fly patterns they had been selling last year. No luck. No nymphs, no streamers, no Henschel's bugs, that rarish spun deer hair salmon, topwater. But I chatted with the clerk and she gave me a tip. She told me to fish the dam at Quarry Lake Park. I left the store, followed her directions, and ended up at a warehouse. Correcting my sense of direction, I arrived at the park in the early afternoon sunshine. The river was shallower here with a fast current. I noticed that there were already 4 anglers wading the river as I pulled up and parked. I worked my way upstream away from the group, noticing that one of the fly fishermen seemed to have hooked a fish. Wading into the shallow current, I began to notice pods of dark salmon ghosting through. It was good that I had taken the risk of moving far upstream. Drifting a beadhead woolly bugger, I managed to hook a fish 15 minutes after my arrival. That fish proved to be too strong for the leader. I still haven't figured out how to slow a salmon down once it decides it really wants to run. Attempting to slow that tank of a fish, I found my line minus the fly. Chatting with one of the anglers, Momo, who had walked upstream, I traded an olive dumbbell bugger for a shorthand version of a shrimp pattern he had tied and had found successful. I thanked him as he headed upriver where I had planned to fish. I didn't want to play leapfrog with him, so I stayed put. I could see that there were plenty of kings in front of me. A few dozen casts later, I hooked another fish. I quickly lost that one too. Frustrated, but optimistic, I took a moment to cool off. Pausing to breathe deeply, I visualized a king salmon lying on the bank in tall grass as I filmed with the river in the background. 20 minutes later, that visualization came to life in living color. I hooked my first fish on the shrimp pattern Momo had offered me. A heavy split shot was pinched onto the leader 6 inches above the white and silver fly. After the hook set, the salmon shot upstream. Then it turned hard toward the right and began jogging back and forth between the 2 river banks. Finally, I maneuvered the fish toward a gravel beach and, lacking a landing net, I reached both hands underneath the fat fish, flipping it up onto a cushion of grass on the bank before me. Success! Euphoria. The many hours of planning and effort had finally paid off. I snapped a few photographs and took a short video with the water running briskly by, panning the camera to capture the woods highlighted as they were with deep reds, fiery oranges, and glowing yellows. And then I released my king. 30 inches long, that chinook salmon, I found later by consulting an online chart for chinook length to weight ratios, was close to 20 pounds. I said a quick, heartfelt thank you to my guide for helping me land the fish of a lifetime on tenkara, that invisible guide. At last, at long last, success. If you've enjoyed this chapter, look for more coming soon. I'm also working on a brand new book of meditations, daily meditations, which will include a journal on one side. So there'll be a quote for the day and a portion of the next sheet of paper to do your own journaling. Namaste, and thanks so much for your many thousands of views now. Getting towards 20,000 per week. Appreciate y'all very much. Thank you.